Hey followers, Kyle here. I just thought I'd check in and give you a bit of an update as to how we're getting on. So I've started, as you saw in the last episode, I explained that the car that I had, the CIVIC, is a carbureted model. What that means is it doesn't have the mod cons like the fuel injection that you would commonly see, or all the VTEC engines were fuel injected, and obviously variations of that throughout to this day, where they still make them in the later model K series platforms. But for this particular build, I'm going to be doing a B swap, so a B16A out of a CRX Del Sol, which was a 92, I believe. And part of that requires me to swap fuel tanks and fuel lines. So the carbureted one doesn't have a fuel pump in the rear like the fuel injected one, so I have to swap that over to make it work and talk the right language when it comes time to actually getting into it. So I dropped the tank, as you can see in the video. So getting rid of all the excess fuel that was in there, undoing the straps and the filler necker hose and a few other little plastic trims in and around it. I think I had to remove an exhaust shroud. And it's pretty straightforward. A little clip on the top under the back seat. I done this all from underneath the car, but in the fuel injected one, might be a bit easier to take the bottom of the back seat out to undo the bolt that holds the fuel line onto the top of the tank. It's a little bit different on the carburetor one. Doesn't have that. It's mounted on the side, so nice and easy. But so I took it out. Got rid of that. There's no provision there there, funnily enough, the platform kind of has a provision where there would have been, we would put a fuel pump, but obviously the tank hasn't been cut accordingly, but otherwise the skin is exactly the same. So I managed to source a fuel injected tank from a EG8, which is a sedan EG Civic, so it was a 1.6, I think, D series fuel injected sedan from a mate down in Napier, which is 3 hours south of me. So I picked that up on the weekend. I've since given it a little wire brush back and a rust treatment just to get rid of all the surface rust, and just put a coat on of the a coat of, I guess, black paint on the top. So what you can see here, that's the tank. So what I was talking about before is this piece under here. This is where your fuel pump's kept, and it's got a hanger inside there. That's where the fixed fuel line will mount to. But on the carbureted one, all it has is the little plug that comes onto this part. So nice and easy. Otherwise, essentially exactly the same. So I've given that the top a coat. I'll do the underside as well once it's dry. And then, underneath the car, have a look under here. So this is I'll see if I can zoom out on it. There's obviously where the tank goes. You've got a couple of straps that hold the tank up, so they just sort of keep it in situ like that. There's a little plug that I was talking about. The fuel injected one has another part of the loom, which I do have a piece up there. I'll have to probably wire in, but I'll cross that bridge when I get onto that. So the intention here is just to clean up underneath here. I'll do a bit of an underseal, I believe, is probably logical. Not necessary, but I'll just do it for peace of mind, and I mean, it's the only time I'm really going to do it whilst the car is stripped like it is. So I'll give this a good clean up. Put the new fuel injected tank in, get it all back in situ. Obviously I've got to run the new lines in this here, which also have the brake lines in there too. But I could do that now, but it's going to be easier once the engine's removed, just to muck around at the other end, because we had to drop the subframe on the sedan to actually get them out nicely without bending them too much. So that's the intention. But I'll just thought I'd start at the back of the car, because I've got a few things to do with the rear disc brakes, changing the rear trailing arms and some suspension components, bushes and the likes, cleaning up inside there. Even the handbrake cables and things change with the disc brakes. So I've got all that stuff somewhere. I've just got to go through the motions and find it, and yeah, just piece it together slowly and work my way forward, I guess. And then yeah, eventually, obviously, drop the Mighty D series out, and yeah, it's and get ready for the mission ahead, I suppose. I think I've got most of the bits that's required for my B16 to give it a refresh, so I won't be doing anything crazy with it. I have welded in a sump baffle plate so far, and I'm going to do just obviously all the common gaskets that you would do at any kind of refresh. So yeah, crank seals and O-rings for the oil pump, and I'm going to do a new thermostat, new water pump, cam out tensioner, all that sort of stuff. I think I've got a couple of little other bits and pieces that, as time goes on, I'll decide how far I go as to what I do with the car. But the goal of it really is to get a fun little car that's reliable. So obviously turbo is definitely the answer if you want to go fast and have a lot of fun. That may happen down the track, who knows, but at the moment I'm just going to keep it in a form, and hopefully do a little bit more of a focus around the suspension and handling. But I guess OEM plus is the goal, but kind of give it a little bit of Kanjo kind of flair. So yeah, alrighty, well, just thought I'd check in, give you a bit of an update. As mentioned earlier, if you want to follow along the journey, my YouTube channel is called Follow So Is the Car. You can also follow me on Instagram there, but yeah, feel free to give me any tips and comment below as to whether or not you've done this, recommendations, things to be mindful of. Perhaps I've said something already that you're like, oh, don't do that. So yeah, I'd be interested for any feedback there. Yeah, or perhaps you follow someone who's done it, so you could shed some light as to any good reference material there, or someone I could reach out to have a discussion. But otherwise, stay tuned, and I'll catch you when I'm looking at you. So as you can see on the carburetor tank, doesn't have the provision there for the fuel pump. So yeah, that's basically the main difference. It's got a little slightly different fuel filter type setup here. Yeah, but otherwise they're identical sort of shape and size, and obviously just direct swap over. Honda didn't get too crazy there. But yeah, even though I drained it, there's still plenty of fuel in there. So yep, just another little makeshift drain before I put this outside and get rid of it. Don't think there's too much that I need to swap over on this one, because the other one's got everything I need. So yeah.